Welcome to the Ministry of the Disinformation Governance Board. You've been brought here for the crime of spreading misinformation on the internet.
It was a tweet. Tweeting isn't a crime.
It is now. You criminal!
But everything I said was true.
We will tell you what is truth, and you will repeat that truth. Do you understand?
All I did was call Rachel Levine a man. He's an adult human male. It's an objectively true statement.
Winston, every time you lie to me like that, I'm gonna play this song.
International laundering is really quite ferocious.
Make it stop, please. Please make it stop.
That was our executive director, Nina Jankowicz. It's not very pleasant, is it? Now, tell me the Hunter Biden laptop story was false.
But that story was true. The New York Post should have never been suspended.
It was disinformation! Tell me Stephen Colbert is funny. Tell me!
No! He used to be funny years ago, back on Comedy Central, but he's not funny anymore! Come on! Ow! Ow!
Tell me Trump colluded with Russia.
With the Mueller reports.
That is as hilarious as it is a terrifying reality of the future to come. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Rudowski here of wearechange.org. A lot of wild, crazy news to get into today. As of course, it looks like we have a new CEO of Twitter, while everything else looks like it's going to absolute ish. Even in the NFT community, and especially inside of Ukraine, where the situation there is only getting more incredulous and dangerous, as of course anonymous U.S. intelligence officials just dropped a major bombshell in the New York Times, which is going to ignite some absolutely troubling developments in that region. We're going to be talking about that, plus a lot more. But before we do, the clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast was done by the once fully censored on Twitter Babylon Bee account that absolutely just did an incredible job with their latest video, which they're calling the U.S. Ministry of Truth Interrogates Man Who Shared Misinformation, highlighting some absolutely perfectly dead-on examples of truth that the government has deemed misinformation. If you want to watch the full video, you could watch it by clicking the link in our description. We only played a small clip of it. The Babylon Bee is an absolute powerhouse. They deserve you to subscribe to them. And I think it's fair to say that they played a very important role when it came to the acquisition of Twitter by, of course, Elon Musk, who soon is going to be expected to serve as a temporary CEO of the company, this being one of the possible conditions that could play out during the merger, during his takeover of the social media company. This, as we're also finding out today, that Elon Musk got an additional $7 billion from his friends and other investors in order to buy up Twitter. Some of those people include individuals like Larry Ellison that gave $1 billion to this acquisition. Binance gave $500 million, and there's even some interests from Qatar that contributed $375 million. This, as we're also hearing possible rumors that Elon Musk might actually bring back Jack Dorsey as a potential new CEO of that company, which some people have expressed some skepticism with, as of course it was Jack Dorsey that oversaw the transition of Twitter to the woke company that it is right now. What's going to be happening with the future of Twitter with Elon Musk? Well, of course, we're going to be following this story very closely, and I have additional comments that I'm going to be sharing later on today on LukeUncensored.com, just specifically about this topic. But things in the business world aren't looking too good for everyone, as of course, stocks have recently dramatically gone down. A lot of financial experts are warning about stagflation, as there has been a more than 4% sell-off on Wall Street. The Dow tumbled more than 1,000 points, and even in the alternative financial space, NFTs have plummeted in value to an estimated 92%. And as we've been warning you throughout the years, the financial reckoning coming to this country is going to be very severe. But most importantly, I think it's very fair to say that the United States will be the last financial domino to fall, as of course other countries are going to be impacted by the financial calamities ahead of us even more than us, and of course a lot quicker than the US, as in Turkey, inflation rates soared to almost 70%. 69%, to be accurate, 69.97%. Rise to the consumer price index, which is absolutely horrible financial news for the people of Turkey, the poorest of which are going to be the most affected by this. This, as of course, the conflict in Ukraine, the grain shortage, the fertilizer shortage, the disruption of the global supply chains, especially coming from Shanghai, are all very serious contributions to the larger financial picture that I think we need to start paying attention to more and more by the day. This, as things are only promising to get more turbulent in Ukraine, as we're going to be talking about in just a little bit, but also here domestically, where the Biden administration is doubling down on their very hyperbolic, aggressive statements against any Americans who do not support the current president of the United States and his larger Build Back Better Great Reset agenda. This, as the White House spokesperson Jen Psaki is doubling down and saying that Biden will continue to call Trump supporters the, quote, most extreme political organization in history. This, as the larger divide and conquer agenda between the left and right has just reached a new level, especially with all the news surrounding the Supreme Court. This, as law enforcement all throughout the United States are preparing for potential violence and unrest as the people of this country wait for the official decision by the United States Supreme Court on Roe versus Wade. And I think it's very fair to say that we're only going to be facing more tumultuous, turbulent times ahead, especially here inside of the United States. I have a lot of other things I want to say about this particular case, but I'm going to have to save those comments for the video I'm going to be doing later on today on LukeUncensored.com, where I could speak more freely and be able to express my ideas and opinions in a more honest kind of dialogue, where of course I strive to give you the information with the best tips and advice when it comes to specifically dealing with the turbulent times ahead of us. Knowledge is power, information is key, and I think there's a reason why there has been a concerted effort trying to keep very important information away from you, and that's why I created this kind of quasi-secret society for members with exclusive content, merchandise, events, 3 masterclasses: Apocalypse Survival, Expatting, Travel Hacking, Change Media University. 3 masterclasses all available to you as members. If you take those classes, you will be a lot better off, a lot more prepared, a lot less filled with stress for just simply taking them and ready to take life by the horns and make some very important moves and decisions for yourself and your family members. LukeUncensored.com. Click the link down in the description below and sign up right now. Now, there's a lot of distractions in our mainline society, whether it's celebritards pooping in each other's bed or TV personalities slapping themselves upside the head. There's a lot of things that make you go, what? Wait, what's going on here? All, of course, as we're dealing with an extremely important situation unfolding in Ukraine that, of course, is going to have global implications for all of us, whether we like it or not. And it's important to state here that we have been only getting one side of the story here. There's been a lot of propaganda, a lot of disinformation, and this truly has been a story that's been very difficult to try to honestly ascertain, and I'm just going to preface that with saying that we're going to be doing our best here to try to just understand the situation as honestly as we can, and if we fail to do that, we will of course correct ourselves and the record. This as today that we're finding out that inside of the U.S. command, specifically the Secretary of State of the United States, Anthony Blinken, has just tested positive for sickness after, of course, he's taken 3 procedures in order to prevent this sickness from, of course, Pfizer, that's receiving record profit. Again, I gotta say, I'm gonna be saying a lot more about that on LukeUncensored.com, but anyway, today, a lot of people are questioning the decisions by the people who are at the helm of the U.S. military, as, of course, anonymous U.S. government military intelligence agents came out to the New York Times and have started to publicly brag how the United States is using their technology, their assets, their tools in order to track high command of the Russian military and help assassinate them. Yes, anonymous, quote, senior American officials are boasting to the New York Times that U.S. intelligence agencies with the U.S. military is secretly spying and getting the information on Russian generals and helping assassinate them when they are in Ukraine. This is something that has just been released to the general public and, of course, to the people of Russia and, of course, to the president of Russia, that the United States is not just actively giving weapons to the Ukrainians, but playing more of an active role in this conflict than previously even known about. This, as we know from the Biden administration, there have been significant moves made by the U.S. government to try not to escalate the situation, and there even has been major moves like the MiG transfer that was supposed to happen that didn't happen because of fears of escalation of this conflict, as today we have admittedly a huge escalation of this conflict, which is becoming more turbulent and dangerous by the day. This as the United States, NATO, and Ukraine are not giving Russia a situation to save face or even to try to have any kind of exit strategy here, as I think it's very fair to say that the situation in Ukraine is becoming more desperate for the Russians, as of course even their next generation super tank that had reinforced steel and special automatic defense systems was just blown up by the Ukrainian army just after it made its debut inside of the battlefield. As of course, if you remember watching this broadcast, we were questioning why Russia wasn't sending their best military hardware into this theater of war, and now they just started to do that right now. This says, of course, we're waiting for what the Russians will be trying to pull off on May 9th, 4 days from now, as of course this will be their significant celebration of Victory Day, as they call it, where of course a lot of military strategists are expecting that this is when the president of Russia will actually declare a full-scale invasion and war inside of Ukraine, as of course the Russians are still calling what's happening inside of Ukraine a limited military operation. Announcing that it will be a full-scale war will actually probably mean that there will be further escalations, that this conflict will be broadened, that new weapons most likely will be used, as I think it's very fair to say that there has been an absolute significant destruction of Russian military hardware that has happened inside of Ukraine. This is why I think it's fair to say that the Russians have been depending on bombing campaigns more and more, as of course their military hardware is just being obliterated every time it's moved in, and just deciding to throw some bombs from far away seems like the strategy by the Russians, and it's a strategy which some people are calling hell on earth. This as there's still even continued battles happening inside of the steel factory inside of Mariupol. This conflict has been going on for an extremely long time. This is known as Ukraine's Alamo. There's still soldiers inside of this steel factory that the Russians cannot get rid of, cannot stop inside of Mariupol, even though they have completely surrounded the entire city. They have bombed it extensively. They just bombed the steel factory, and now there's even new videos of the Ukrainian forces inside of the steel factory, specifically from the controversial Azov battalion, releasing videos from inside of that facility. And this is going to be a long, drawn-out conflict that, as we told you, was not going to be ending in a few days, even though the corporate media was telling you that. The Ukrainians are very defiant. They're, of course, supported fully by the United States, by NATO, and have a lot of significant military hardware and have been preparing and training with U.S. Special Forces ever since 2014 with specific strategies on how to deal with a Russian invasion, which we've been telling you since 2014 there was a huge potential for this to happen. It did happen, and now with the situation becoming more desperate for the Russians, a lot of people are asking themselves, where will they go? What sacrifices are they going to be making? What escalation will they respond to the escalations that they're dealing with? As of course, people need to understand that this insane geopolitical foreign policy that has been going on since the beginning of the Cold War is absolutely ridiculous. This, as a lot of political and military experts are saying, that we are terrifyingly close to another nuclear war, and I have to agree with them from all the metrics that I've been seeing, calculating, and looking at myself. The Russian government, along with the U.S. government, both are practicing and using their doomsday planes, by the way. The United States doomsday plane costs $223 million, which of course the United States has been drilling and practicing with over the coast of California. Russia is flying their doomsday plane plane over Moscow. And if you don't know what a doomsday plane is, it of course is a plane with special equipment to be used during a nuclear war, which could indefinitely fly and of course maintain the helm of government no matter what the situation might be on the ground. The US chain of command, as well as the Russian chain of command, could still be utilized, and of course orders could be carried out with these specific planes, which the fact that they're even being shown off and tested right now shows you how just absolutely insane this entire situation is. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely stupid. And this is what you get when you have too big of governments, too big of bureaucracies, too big of military-industrial complex lobbying that has brought us here throughout the years of just absolute insane foreign policy that deserves to be highly criticized, as of course it led us to this particular point. But hey, that's just my perspective. If you think I'm wrong, if you don't like my perspectives or opinions or political commentary, let me know why down in the comment section below, especially if you have any data or evidence or documents suggesting that I might be wrong on any of my assertions. I always appreciate the opportunity to learn, the opportunity to grow, the opportunity to see things from a different perspective, which I think we need absolutely more of. Things are getting crazy. Doesn't mean it has to get crazy for you. And just by knowing what's happening puts you in a position where, of course, you're going to be a lot better off than a lot of the Kyles and Karens out there that are just absolute lemmings and zombified GMO, high fructose corn syrup, endocrine disrupted, leaky gut zombies out there that, of course, are not paying attention to what's going on and aren't prepared for any of the craziness coming ahead of us. I hope you are, and again, if you weren't, you wouldn't be watching this independent media broadcast. I wouldn't be able to be here if it wasn't for you. I did another video surrounding this very complex issue, which you could watch right here, and one last time, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, and this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for a lot more here on wearechange.org.